Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to, once again, another edition of The Other Side. We are already in episode number 5. Wow, can you believe it? Time seems to be flying whilst we are having fun. Really couldn't believe that when we were sitting and planning this, that we had reached episode 5 already. I was like, oh no, this is all coming to an end very soon. But never fear when John is near, because we've got a whole lot of new exciting stuff that is coming your way very soon. And we'll be telling you a little bit more about that at the end of this session today. So if I were you, I would stick around right until the end so that you can all figure out or join in what's happening when this series comes to an end after episode number 6, and see what the exciting new episodes and what new webinars we are going to be bringing you in the series from Chatterbox, because that's what we do. We love to chat. And hence we called ourselves Chatterbox, because we don't give up. We just carry on and on and on. And we will be excited and ready to share with you our new adventures after the end of this session. So stick around until the end and you shall be enlightened. Now back to today. Well, here we are. It's Monday. It's the start of a new week. As we all know, the tourism sector is starting to slowly open up. We've got the domestic tourism up and running at the moment, and I'm hoping that you are all starting to benefit from the opening up and that your businesses are starting to see a pickup. But I'm sure you're looking for even more business, and there's no better way to get that business other than to be online, because we are picking up statistics that are showing that over 72% of consumers are making their purchase decisions online now, and that's only going to grow. Even people who before lockdown were not using and were scared of using online as a result of having to do just about everything in their lives online are now getting to grips with the online and are not so scared and afraid to be using it anymore, with also new, more secure payment platforms that are coming up. So the online platform for marketing is just going to grow and grow. And if you're not on this platform, and if you're not doing it properly, and you're not designing campaigns, because it's not all about just putting up an ad and saying, okay, great, this is my place, I've done my bit, and leave it at that. It's exactly what we talk about. It's a campaign, and it's going to take a bit of work to get it right. But once you've got it right, it's surely going to definitely give you the results that you're looking for. And with international tourism looking more and more likely, I know that the Minister of Transport is making noise about international tourism opening up sooner than we think it's going to be. So we're all holding thumbs and hoping that that's not just pie in the sky, and that he's actually committed to doing that sort of thing, and that the National Command Council will obviously follow in his footsteps and follow his lead. Means that now is the time. It's never been more ripe for you to make sure that you're fixing up your social media platforms. Of course, we've taken you, as I said, from episode 1, and today's episode 5. So for those of you who have missed any of the episodes, don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, because all the episodes are loaded there. So you can go back and do some research on those platforms to get yourself to the point where you are now ready to put a campaign together. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And exciting news for today, you'll see that we have a rose amongst the thorn today, in the fact that we have Lizzy from Little Rabbit Digital as your presenter for today's session, episode number 5. Hello, Lizzy.
Hey, John. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you. And you?
Good, good.
It's so nice to have, as I said, a rose on the other side of the line this time round. No offense to you, William, but William is on a bit of a sabbatical at the moment, so I had to make a plan to reach out, and I thought, hey, why don't we do a session with Lizzy, our little digital rabbit? So I approached Lizzy, and she agreed to be the host for today's session, and she lined up some fantastic speakers for today's session. So I'm sure you're all going to be enthralled and excited. I really am excited to hear what's coming up. So Lizzy, without any further ado, I'm going to ask you to do the hosting duties today. I look forward to hearing your speakers, and then just doing a bit of the housework and housekeeping, showing people around the room. And I'm going to leave the stage in your capable hands, and we'll join you at the end for a wrap.
Thank you, John.
Pleasure. Have fun.
Thanks. I see William is in the chats. Hi, Will. We've got some amazing people all the way. I see Cape Town's here, Drakensberg's here, Zululand is here. We've got some people from Josie. Very cool to have you. Some people from Hermanus. Thank you so much for joining us again. So like John said, I am William. For today, you've got news to his lovely face, and I'll be taking his place today. So some of the house rules, or just some housekeeping. We don't like rules here. It's just a conversation between friends in the tourism industry. The chat line on the side, please make use. I don't know which side of my screen it is, but it'll be on either side of your screen. On the right-hand side, please just have a chat with us if you've got any questions. You can pop it in there if you want to ask a serious question. You can go down to the bottom where it says ask a question, pop it in there, and we'll ask our lovely speakers to answer them for you. We'll also be putting up some polls throughout that you can answer yes or no, and you can get involved in the conversation there. So I have indeed lined up some very nice speakers for us today. First up is Lee Geldenays. She is a business development strategist at Ad Dynamo. I have worked with Ad Dynamo extensively throughout my career in the big agencies, and I love them. They are creative, they are forward-thinking, they are an incredible business to work with, and they actually work with brands to develop really cool campaigns, and they have so many cool toys, guys. Like, the things that they can do on social is beautiful. So Ad Dynamo is the official paid media reseller for Twitter, Snapchat, Verizon, and Spotify, with development subsidiary Blue Robot being a preferred Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter partner. So because Lee works there, she's received intensive technical training on each platform. She knows them a lot better than I do. I can make pretty things. She knows how to make my pretty things work on the platforms. And she's going to be talking to us about a lot of the cool things that we can do and opportunities that we can spot that will ultimately turn into awesome campaigns. So Lee, thank you so much for joining us today. It's really cool. I'm very looking forward to your presentation as a Blue Robot and a Dynamo and everything fan. Welcome to the other side.
Thank you so much for having me, Lizzie. It's been very exciting to join you all today, and thank you for that glowing introduction. I'm sure that my teammates back at the office would be thrilled to hear that you are so passionate about what we do. So I'm going to dive in and share my screen shortly, but I thought that I would like to take a minute just to get to know who I'm speaking to a little bit. So I've seen a bunch of people have introduced themselves and where they're from, which is amazing. I'm a born and bred Durbanite that's currently based in Cape Town. But I'd love to see who you are in terms of your position and what capacity you're here in today. So are you the business owner? Are you from agency? Are you your company's head of marketing, a community manager, a media buyer, strategist? Who are we speaking to today here? You can just pop it in the chat. That would be great.
See, we've got some people here from the lodge. Let's see. Don't be shy. Sales and marketing.
Sales and marketing, amazing. Thank you. Business owner. Thanks, Barbara. Okay. Well, business development. Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much. This is so interesting. I always like to see who I'm speaking to so I can be sure that I'm delivering the right message. Okay, amazing. Well, you guys can carry on chatting there. I'd love to take a look afterwards, but I'm going to share my screen. Lizzie, if you don't mind just giving me a heads up to confirm that it is showing.
Just give it a second. There we are.
All right.
Perfect, you're up.
Okay, super. So this is a very ominous starting slide, coronavirus social guidelines. But you know, it is our life now, and we do have to cater to it. But I'll get into it in a more granular way, and the conversations that we have at our disposal to tap into at this time and moving forward as we kind of recover from this dreadful year. But just also a little bit about me. Thank you again, Lizzie, for that great introduction. But as Lizzie said, we are the official paid media resellers for Twitter, Snapchat, and Spotify, and Verizon Media. We are Africa's largest privately owned media sales house. So if ever you see paid media on any of those platforms, chances are it's come through us. So we work directly with the platforms. We're essentially the regional office in South Africa, in South and Greater Africa. We also have offices in Kenya. And I think that, today, while I will be speaking to the platforms that we specifically represent for today's purposes, the behavior and trends can be extended across all of your digital properties and for both paid and organic content. Right. And as for me, I have a strategic background and I straddle both of our strategy and sales team, and I work with brands on how to grow their digital portfolio and their market share. And I'm 32 this year, and I'm part of a weird in-between kind of generation that knew both kind of our old yellow home phones and iPhones, and both dial-up internet and fiber, and we've kind of been on both sides of all of these evolutions and how we communicate. What I do now didn't exist as a career when I was studying. And I think that's quite shown by the fact that I studied architecture and then fell into this different thing entirely. And, people that are my age that are doing this thing, we grew up as the platforms grew up. So watching them grow into these entities where many larger brands are allocating 20 to 40% of their overall marketing budgets to digital, and where smaller brands are focusing on digital only, it's been an incredibly wild and bumpy and exciting ride over the last decade. So now we find ourselves here, right? Needing digital more than ever and exploring our new communication methods. And I have a quick poll that I'd love for you all to pop an answer in. Who of you are so extremely tired of hearing and seeing and reading and writing the new normal, right, as a term? I, for one, am absolutely exhausted. There has been an enormous reckoning for businesses and for platforms this year, and needing to course correct with almost no notice and no concrete path forward has more or less been the theme for marketing in 2020. So today is going to be quite a minefield of varied information, and I've done that quite deliberately. There is a lot of moving parts to what we do for a living, and the goalposts are forever moving, and we're constantly being completely inundated with new information. And so I think it's good to look at how we as marketers have to navigate these ever-changing goalposts. So with all the platforms that we represent, we do have access to incredible first-party tools and to all of their data. And we've picked up a couple of trends in people's interests and their conversations over the last few months. And with a lot of the attendees today being in tourism and being in events, I've highlighted a couple of the more important ones for our purposes today. And I do think that these are going to stay with us for the foreseeable future because new normal, right? So a lot of businesses had to very quickly pivot to digital. A lot of people are still stuck at home, and even with lockdown restrictions easing, people are super cautious. They're still rather staying at home. There is no real end in sight, actually. So we're all just trying to find a way to get through this together. So in this time, we obviously have all been on our phones and our laptops and our TVs way more. And a really immediate example of this is an entertainment app activity and gaming, right? Where people are seeking a lot of gaming and interaction and just fun and distraction and connection, right? And having an audience today that is quite strong in event and tourism, you may ask how this is relevant to you. Entertainment and gamification can help engagement in any industry, and it helps keep people involved for longer, and it keeps them coming back more frequently. Right, so a really great example of this is to look at Snapchat, right? They are possibly the quickest way to display the concept. And here you can see a gamified lens. They're called lenses and filters, and the lenses are the augmented reality portion of it. A lot of people tend to call them filters, but it's actually a lens where you could choose kind of the side that you wanted and the persona that you wanted, and there was a karaoke element. And you can see the sheer amount of numbers, the increase in people that are trying to engage with this kind of thing all the time from the last couple of months. But not only this, right? So there's not only this creative and cool and fun and engaging stuff that's going on. Alongside that, we have the absolute mundane that is needing to be paid attention to as well. For grocery deliveries apps, for example, people want to make sure that their day-to-day is also taken care of, that they can get food, that they can get medicine. And quite a good example during this time was actually Pick and Pay on Twitter. They had an always-on approach where they were constantly showing people value and help in terms of specials and value for money and where to find things and those kind of interests. And as we were saying earlier, 72% of shopping journeys do tend to start online. So getting creative with that, with things like banner days, like Black Friday and the festive season coming up, it's good to know that also people are desperate to get out and connect, but the economic repercussions of 2020 have been tough on everyone. So they're looking for more affordable and creative ways of getting out there. So you've got creative and you've got value. So Also taking a look over the last few months, with the nature of Twitter being that it's real-time news, it's often the easiest place to spot conversation trends the most quickly. So we can see how the conversation started in February, growing exponentially as COVID and lockdown gained momentum. However, as it stands right now, COVID conversation only accounts for 5% of the local conversation on the platform. People are trying to get back to life as they know it and are desperate for normalcy. That said, though, they have been looking to brands to provide that normalcy. Right? The brands have been instrumental during this time, not just to maintain that normalcy that we spoke about, but to provide value, information, and in services, as well as entertaining their audiences. This has cemented brand awareness, brand loyalty, brand love, all in the eyes of their followers. So you've got people that might not have bought from you before, but once this is all over and they can, you'll have new clients and new customers as a result. But now on top of all of that, right? So it's just building layers and layers of things that we've got to keep tabs on all the time as marketers. Because information has moved more quickly than ever before this year, misinformation was rife. We would just be recovering from the last news cycle before a new stream of bad news would hit us, and that was always trialed with fiery accounts of incorrect or sensationalist facts. People were desperately seeking reputable news sources, with a number of platforms undertaking massive policy changes this year to keep up with that. Where previously the platforms tried to maintain a sense of impartiality, they started to take a stand for what was considered right and wrong this year. And with the likes of Savannah Cider and Clicks coming through with the most recent batch of social media scandals in South Africa, we can see that with greater access to information, audiences demand accountability and transparency, meaning that a lot of brands can't actually afford to be fence-sitters any longer. So finding a balance between that and with good, correct information sharing is a tightrope that we're all walking right now. There is also a really great solidarity, show of solidarity in our audiences. People wanted to support wherever they could. And so the platforms also made it a priority to show how you could support small businesses or facilitate donations. And here's a really great example on the left here. Our Blue Robot subsidiary worked with the Belgian government, and you could actually opt into notifications every time there was news about COVID-related works within the country, and that was also quite a gamified experience. So you'd get these alerts and you could engage with them. And Snapchat made it so that you could choose the causes you would like to actually support, and you could scan a note with the market technology and actually then donate to a cause directly. Right. And then I think also to speak to specifically the tourism industry, there was this great push to try bring the outside inside. And Snapchat was another great example that worked actually with the zoo a little while ago on a conservation project. But I think you could also sort of extrapolate that into something that just show how you could bring those animals and that wildlife and that outdoor experience into your own home. So I'm going to play you a video. It's quite awe-inspiring, I think, to see how far this has come. And also what's important to note is that this isn't something that requires anyone to have new tech. It's tech that exists on your phone and it already lives in your back pocket, right? So
just turn up your volume for us a little, Lee.
Closures.
You're on mute, Lee. Just unmute yourself and go back to the previous one, please. Oh no. Why does Crowdcast always do some weird things when we're right in the middle of something awesome? Okay, William suggests that you use your headset again. It might be because you unplugged your headset. Still not. It's not wanting you to unmute. John, technical wizard in the background. Is there anything you can do to help us unmute Lee? John has.
I'm trying my best to see what I can do. I've hit the unmute button, so hopefully it will work. Technology challenges us every single day, and it's not working for me either. Do me a favor, just unplug and plug yourself back in, Lee, please. Okay, she's definitely showing us that she's done that. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now, or maybe unplug your mic completely out of your laptop, and let's see if we can use your built-in microphone, if that will work better now. Let's see here. Okay, what I'm going to do is, Lee, we're going to, Lizzy, if you can just keep everybody occupied, I'm going to reset Lee and invite her back in. So she's going to say goodbye for a few seconds, and then I'll invite her back in to join us again. Sorry, everybody, about this, but unfortunately with technology, these things do happen from time to time.
It's okay. So I think just in terms of what Lee was speaking about, it's very interesting to see kind of the statistics around what's happening out there and the conversations that are happening. One of the ideas that I just got, and I put it in the chat, is to support other small businesses. You don't necessarily need to put out a call that says, support me, I am a small business. But what you can do is you can support other small businesses around you. And if you guys can partner up in one campaign. So if you are a lodge, I just came back from Hoedspruit. I finally went to the bush, guys. It was incredible. I went up, and Hoedspruit doesn't have a lot going on. So if one of the lodges partners with the craft brewery, partners with the bakery, and they all run a campaign together, those campaigns are a lot stronger because now we're supporting 3 small businesses and you amplify each other. So look at how you can partner up with people. If you put whatever budget you have together, you immediately have more to play with, and you immediately have more of an impact because you're reaching 3 different audiences.
Right, well, we have Lee back, and she's all full of sound, and she can go back to the slide that she was last on.
Awesome. Lee, if I can please ask if you start with that video again. A few people are saying they didn't hear the volume on that. So if you can just play the video and then carry on from there, this is brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Not a problem. And sorry about that, team. I feel like it's not a webinar or a video call unless there is some kind of it's the rules. All right, I'm going to share my screen again.
The Cologne Zoo partnered with Snapchat to show the danger of extinction. With Photo 3D technology, they created digital copies of threatened species. In the zoo, they moved the animals and placed snap codes in the empty enclosures. On Snapchat, visitors were taken to a dark future in which the animals only exist digitally. The lenses educated visitors about the threatened species and encouraged them to act. The project became national news.
So wurde eine Augmented Reality Lens, der an den Stellen, wo gerade kein Zootier lebt.
Across Germany, Snapchatters learned about wildlife conservation and got engaged. It shows that people do care, especially when you speak their language.
All right, was that better?
Brilliant. Thank you so much. You can carry on.
Fabulous. Glad to hear it. All right. So as you can see here, also with the increase of screen time, there was also a massive jump in user numbers, and this was across the board on all of our platforms. But just as a quick example, Snapchat's a good guide. to how we could see that very, very noticeable and very immediate flocking to our phones over this period. But we've always said that video is key and content king, etc., but it's even more so now. But the one thing that lockdown has shown us is that, especially as the smaller businesses, don't need million-rand TVC campaigns for it to work, right? Apple is an excellent example of a brilliant ad campaign that they shot during this period using webcam footage. Major magazines such as Vogue have art-directed shoots via Zoom. Music videos have been created using user phone video submissions. Social media is real-time and real, and we've kind of been prone to overthinking it, in my opinion. But it's ultimately about connection, and not necessarily just pushing product the whole time, but actually speaking to an audience. So digital and online solutions will become increasingly important alternatives to all of these kinds of events in a time of crisis such as this one. And brands really have the opportunity to reach people across the world immediately and simultaneously without the current risks of staging any kind of gathering. It also allows individuals such as models and artists to effectively make appearances at multiple events at once without the need to travel, so your logistics are actually much less. And my absolute favorite point of it all is that it democratizes your reach. We no longer have to be held back by needing to travel to Cannes or to a concert or to an art gallery, so the barriers to entry for people to experience your brand are so much lower than ever before. And I think that's really, really fascinating and really special. And I think in this time, it's always good to look for silver linings. But I think we've seen a lot of this behavior in the likes of Spotify, with that being our in-house streaming solution that we offer. And Mini Cooper was an excellent example of marketing efforts over lockdown that spanned all of their platforms, which drove people to various playlists that they could work out to, that they could study to, that they could work to. And they also then ran this with audio ads. Now, it's really important to note that Spotify advertising does not replace radio. In fact, it's an excellent accompaniment. I think a lot of people think that, a new platform will come in and you need to abandon everything for that. And it's not the case at all. All platforms can more or less do everything, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all platforms do everything well. So where one platform may be really strong, another may have a few weaknesses. And if you kind of build your campaigns in such a way that layers and plays off everyone's strengths, and you get a really, really powerful end result. So a really great example in the radio and Spotify case is if you had to look at your average day, and you can actually track the usership of Spotify through the day, where during commuter times, people will be in their cars listening to their radio, and then they would get home or they get to work or to the office, and they would then plug into their laptops and listen to Spotify from there. So it's all about reaching people in the different stages of their day that they're in and delivering messaging accordingly. So you can really reach the right people at the right time with the right message. And it's important to note that, and this isn't just for Spotify, that even if you yourself don't use the platform, it doesn't mean the platform is irrelevant to your audience. You're not always your own audience, right? And I think a lot of times we can fall into the trap of trying to market to ourselves, and that might not actually be the people who are buying our products. So, and I think through all of this, now we are trying to navigate all of these different bits and pieces and moving parts. And it's important to keep trying and testing new things, but it's also important to remember that customers are also trying new things during this period, right? So a couple of examples are where people may have previously been quite uncomfortable buying things online. They were now forced to, right? There's nothing that moves progress faster than not having a choice, right? And people are now craving these live virtual experiences through digital video and virtual reality. And one thing that made me laugh quite hard is that the term corona cuffing came out of all of this, right? And that's, or people were called coronials as couples, right? So the virus is putting relationships to the test more than ever, because we were working from home with our partners all day, every day. I think it was in France where there was an upswing in divorces once they started coming out of lockdown. If I had to look to my friends who are active on Tinder, it's blowing up. People are so desperate for connection and to feel normal and to escape. And you're kind of trying to navigate all of these different things and feelings at the same time. But ultimately, there is this big shift and focus from planes and bling and sneakers and this aspirational lifestyle to more conscious living of taking care of ourselves, to good food and banana bread and kind words and learning and supporting, just this general collective feeling of trying to get through this. And Now, as brands, we find ourselves having to be entertaining, to provide value, to be transparent, to not just take a stand, but to take the right stand, to sell things but not push product, to support our audiences and our businesses, and. It's hectic, right? There's so much that we have to keep tabs on at all times. And ultimately, the only way to move through that is, in amongst all of this insight and all of this information and all of this data, we need to know who we are, who our brands are, and who our audiences are. Because through all of this turmoil, we have to find a way to connect. So make it as easy as possible for your audience to find you, to connect with you, and to support you. I mean, as Lizzy mentioned earlier, that was such a great idea of partnering with the businesses around you, and supporting each other as a community. And remember that you don't have to be doing everything on every platform. What I showed you today were just a couple of examples to just kind of let you see what was out there and what other people were doing. But find what you have capacity for and do it well, with a balance of testing and experimentation mixed in so that you do evolve. But ultimately, having everything and doing it poorly will never be as good as doing less and doing it really well. All right, so that is my massive information dump for you all today. And I know that it's complex and layered, but I'm more than happy to take any questions. If you have anything that you would like to ask me, if I can't answer it today, I will take your details and get back to you. You're welcome to reach out to us at any point in time. We have, as Lizzy mentioned, we've got excellent resources at our disposal. We have a strategy team that's dedicated to helping brands build their campaigns on our platforms. So we are there to help, ultimately. But that is it from me today. If anyone has any questions that they would like to follow up with.
Thank you so much, Lee. That was amazing. Just some of the points that I picked up. Like you said, everything's happening over Zoom and over Skype and online these days. And for people to say that my industry does not belong over there. I mean, a good friend of mine in Cape Town, they recently shot an entire short movie on Skype and smartphones to raise money for the actors who are absolutely not getting paid. So within the first 21 days, and the movie is called 21 Days, they shot, wrote, and produced an entire movie over Skype, which is amazing. So you just think of the natural behavior. This is things that I've said in the previous webinars. You just need to think of how you interact, and then that's how your people interact, because we're people selling to other people, which is a really cool space to play in, because you get really innovative and really creative once you start thinking of your people as other people like you.
Yeah, I do also find that oftentimes the biggest constraints offer the best solutions and the most creative solutions. So, when we're given an opportunity to have a blank slate, we don't really know how to deal with it. But when we're given all of these constraints to work within, we have to be so much more clever and strategic about how we go about solving that, which I always think is a far more interesting outcome.
No, absolutely. And there's a lot of alternatives. Like you said, Spotify works really well within a radio campaign. But a lot of people only see the big radio stations, only see the commercials. And then when you phone them and you ask them for a spot on the breakfast show, it's like 30,000 Rand, and they go, oh, this is insane. But within your communities, the community stations are not, I wouldn't say dirt cheap, but a tenth of the price the commercials are going to charge you with a much more targeted reach. So look at the community stations within your community and reach out to them and run a community station with a Spotify. You don't have to have two big elements. You can look at the smaller kind of pieces and pull together a really decent campaign.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, if there's any other questions, please pop it in. Lee, you were amazing. People read on Ad Dynamo. They are some of my favorite human beings on earth. Not just because they sent me boxes of cool Twitter things every year, but in general, I really loved working with them. They're super creative and amazing people. So, Lee, thank you very, very much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Cool. So, our next speaker, I'm very, very keen to hear him speak as well, because he pulled off one of my favorite tourism campaigns from the last, I would say, 7 years. So, Deen, I'm not even going to try and pronounce your surname because I'm going to make a complete idiot of myself. But Deen achieved a degree in brand strategy from Vega and he was awarded as the top achiever in his graduating year. He then joined VML and Y&R, which is a massive agency in Joburg and in Cape Town and everywhere. They're one of my favorite agencies. I never got to work there, but I would have dropped everything in a heartbeat to be there. So he worked as a social media and digital media strategist. After that, he went to Primedia Broadcasting to accelerate digital innovation through creative solutions that deliver highly effective campaigns for clients and partners. This is one of these really, really great campaigns, and I'm super stoked that he's going to tell us about it. So now Deen looks after all the commercial digital efforts within Primedia, and he is a complete superstar. Deen, thank you so much for agreeing to be here today and for sharing all of your awesome knowledge, and we look forward to hearing your presentation.
All right, cool. Can you hear me? I just got one of those weird notifications about my signal.
No,
okay,
we can
cool.
hear you perfectly.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you so much to everyone for making time here. Let me just share my screen quickly. All right, cool. Okay, cool. So yeah, as mentioned, I am at Primedia Broadcasting, and I felt like a little bit attacked a few moments ago because like the commercial stations are expensive. I'm like, wow, I thought we were all friends here. Just to let everyone know that Primedia can be expensive. Yes, if you're looking to be on 947 with Anele and reach 1 million people with a single spot, it can be expensive. But there are various different stations, various different time channels, and oftentimes we can build campaigns on the low end for like 20,000 Rand, or if you give us as many millions of rands as you want, we'd be able to build something for you specifically. But that's not, I'm not here to sell Primedia. What I'm here to do is talk about some adventurous stuff. So campaigns that are for tourism after COVID-19, but based on some insights that we discovered over the last couple of years at Primedia Broadcasting, partnering with South African tourism and various other different brands over the years. But first, a little bit about me. My name is Deen Schroeder. That's Deen with 2 E's and Schroeder from Germany. I'm a digital strategist currently at Primedia Broadcasting, part of the Creative Solutions Department. So the Creative Solutions Department operates with everything that isn't your 30-second radio ad. So everything from podcasts to content series to events that are at the Joburg Day level scale, or like intimate private events with Bruce and a couple of private bankers. So everything that is non-traditional is the stuff that I work on with the team. I love any excuse. I literally make any excuse for a road trip, including driving 26 hours to Sossusvlei in the back of a Ford EcoSport. And for anyone that knows a Ford EcoSport, it's not exactly a 4x4. Neither is it capable of carrying 4 fully grown adults, but it was great. Photography is my side hustle. I'm also an avid film photographer. I currently shoot on a Leica M3 that is 62 years old this year. And I'm an aspiring bonsai master. I think my oldest tree now is about 32 years old, and I've had it for the last 18. So just a hodgepodge of weirdness. But I think the weirdness comes together in interesting ways in terms of the way in which I look at solutions and how we build them. So why am I here? Hopefully to share some insights about tourism campaigns that I've been a part of, or I've conceptualized, or I've led, and hopefully inspire some fun new ways of thinking to make sure that the tourism sector bounces back after COVID-19. So I love lists. So 3 simple things that I want to talk about. BMW Explore X3, which is a campaign that we did as Primedia Broadcasting. The 702 road trip, which I think is the favorite that was mentioned earlier, but also one of my favorite campaigns to work on, be a part of, and I honestly think my life was enriched by some of the experiences that happened there. And then the third one is just being an influencer. So I'm not exactly an influencer, but I don't know if there's a word less than a micro, maybe a nano influencer, but I have a nice network as well. So without any further ado, let's get into the BMW Explore X3 campaign. So the brief, very simply, was to launch the all-new BMW X3, and I think this was at the end of 2018. The solution that we worked on was that the vehicle was positioned as a go-anywhere companion to explore everything from the urban landscapes to the backcountry roads. So whether in the high streets of Sandton or somewhere in Kuruman, the BMW X3 was for you. It was also a stylistic update because previously the BMW X3 was considered a little bit of a mom's car, and they wanted to make it a little bit more masculine, a little bit more hardcore, a little bit more adventurous. So the execution, an integrated campaign centered around a massive, massive road trip. that saw all 4 of our radio stations combining efforts to create a single campaign. It's centered around engaging content, rich digital content as well, and amplified across all the radio stations, all the digital platforms as well. And it was a really great adventure that was basically the Cape Town radio stations road tripping up to Joburg and the Joburg radio stations road tripping down to Cape Town, but not following any of the main roads. So I don't want to talk too much about it because sometimes visuals do a little bit more work. So let me just show you the brief case study video. It's about 2 minutes long.
Remember your volume there, Deen, please.
Did it get louder there when I pressed button?
No, we can't hear any of the volume on the video.
Oh, gosh. Let me try one more time.
See if it plays when you unplug your headset.
Say again?
Just try and unplug your headset. Let's see if that works. Oh, no. Now we're having the same problem as we did with Lee. Where you're muted. Still no sound. Just keep your headphones unplugged and try sharing the screen again. I'll just put my pretty face back on. Seems like we've lost D. Oh, John's probably just taking him in and out. So if you have any questions, please remember to pop them in the chat section. We're going to have a nice little Q&A afterwards as well if you want to speak to any one of our amazing speakers, which will be really cool and informative. You can ask us anything. It's a quick free consultation session with everyone. Okay, Deen, you're back.
Okay, I'm back.
And I can hear you. So check quickly if you share your screen and if we can hear the sound on your presentation.
Let's try this again.
I think it's just whenever we use headphones, Crowdcast seems to not like us. I had feedback on my very first session where I heard myself throughout my entire presentation. It was quite good.
Okay, let's see if it works this time. Just let me know.
Still no sound.
Okay, well, let's try this.
If you unplug your headphones completely and play, it should work. Nope. No volume. And now we've completely lost his sound as well. John Crowdcast is not liking me or any of my speakers today. All right, so Dean's probably just going to talk us through the BMW campaign that they did. The getting off the main road is a very good campaign angle to have. I love taking road trips and I love driving down to the coast or up north. And I have a rule that you have to get off the main road for at least an hour or 100 kilometers of the journey. I have discovered some of the most beautiful places, from a cheetah sanctuary in the Eastern Cape to the best farm stall in the world, when you just get off the main road. So if you want to build out a campaign that features you as a destination, I think that's a very, very smart idea, is to feature the road trip element of it.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and share screen. If the sound doesn't come, just let me know and I'll try and talk through the BMW campaign.
Okay, cool.
But the insights are more important in the video, really.
Perfect.
Let me just get onto this quickly. All right. No sound?
No, we can't hear the sound.
Okay, cool. So basically, what's important to you, so just to the point of being off the beaten track. So we built this campaign where 947 and 702 partnered up, and then KFM and Cape Talk partnered up. So you can see the two pairings there. Two individuals jumped into cars on either end of the country, but with them was a group of content creators. So we make sure we try and align these campaigns with content creators that are not only amazing videographers and photographers. As you can see, all this footage was created during this 1 week campaign on the road from every corner of the country. But those content creators also have significant influence as well. So the road trips happen, we visit all of these unknown destinations, and then at the same time on the Friday of the campaign, the cars reached launch events that were taking place in Joburg and in Cape Town at the same time. So they were stopping everywhere along the road, documenting everything that they did. We did a whole bunch of live crossings into the radio station. We made sure it was gamified by encouraging people to tune into very brief live streams that took place randomly throughout the day. If you could answer those questions, you could win experiences in those locations as well. And overall, it was like a really successful campaign. This was obviously like a large-scale, big investment campaign from a big company, obviously to launch what was then one of their primary vehicles for the entire year. But the insights that came out of it was, looking to South Africa beyond just like what you see in Joburg, Cape Town, and Durban, and realizing that there's really cool little small towns all over the place, and making sure that the vehicle is front and center during each and every step of that campaign. But from the tourism sector perspective, it was really cool because we made sure that we were reaching out to small B&Bs here, there, and everywhere to try and make sure that the content that was coming out of this campaign felt completely authentic and unique to this campaign. So that in a nutshell was BMW X3, but the things that made it work, right? So we included the station presenters on every single road trip. This means that, there was lovely tie-in. So if you're used to, at that point, 947, and you hear that Jacob is going along a trip, and every time Jacob crossed into the station, it was like you were following a friend around the country. Content creators are wonderful resources to bring into every single campaign, but also try and make sure that if you're trying to bring in a content creator, make sure that they have a little bit of influence as well. Also, what's really nice about these types of content creators is that they know how to work on the move. So they know how to have hard drives and computers that can work from anywhere. They know how to make sure that they've got the right amount of signal, upload things onto Dropbox so that you can access it from the other side of the world. So they're really, really good at working very fast and quick wherever they are in the world. Also, radio plus digital. So obviously, Primedia Broadcasting is fundamentally a radio business. We've, over the years, extended our digital capabilities. And for a lot of our clients, we're making sure that when we build campaigns and solutions, to find a happy medium between the radio and the digital. If you have a smaller budget, let's see what we can do digitally. And if you have a radio campaign, how does it amplify what you're doing digitally? And then to the point earlier, staying off the main roads is what makes these campaigns wonderful, because you find the most incredible stories and the most beautiful places. And those pieces of content have the ability to go a little bit viral via social if done correctly. The next campaign, because obviously the sound's not going to work as well, luckily this video doesn't have a voiceover, but just sort of music. So that will be a little bit easier. But this was an amazing campaign. So it was the 702 road trip campaign. And the key part of the brief was to inspire South Africans to travel locally during Tourism Month. So under the banner of Tourism for All, we created a road trip to every single province to discover hidden gems and adventures for any budget. So oftentimes, when you find out that someone else is paying for the trip, you hope that you're going to only 5-star hotels and 5-star restaurants and the most incredible experiences. But what was beautiful in this is there was a little bit of that, as well as a little bit of the budget stuff as well. And sometimes in the budget adventures, you're like, wow, this is the coolest thing ever, sliding down sand dunes on like literally a piece of cardboard. versus on the other end of the spectrum, I stayed at this one place called the Naris Namakwa Mountain Lodge, just outside Springbok, and it was this beautiful, beautiful venue, absolute lap of luxury, and I definitely need to go back there. But it made sure that all the content that was coming out of this campaign resonated with a broad spectrum of South Africa. So how we executed it was 702, and remember 702 is a regional radio station centered in Gauteng, but it was a 7-week road trip campaign where we had groups of content creators going to every single province, one province at a time, sometimes 2 provinces at a time, and sharing content. We had video content, written content, photography stuff, and also crossings from those content teams into the radio station every single day, just to really inspire South Africans to see South Africa differently. So this campaign was done a good few years ago. I'm just going to show you a video, and there's some words on it that explains it better than I could. And the great thing, a lot of this content was done, on some professional cameras, as well as some cell phones, like a whole mix of things, whether it was like those boomerangs we did on Instagram, slow-mo videos just on your phone, but then interspersed with that was like your drone footage and, your underwater GoPro stuff. And what's really nice is you can see, and I think Lee sort of alluded to it earlier as well, is that from a user's perspective, they're not really telling if this was shot on like 100,000 Rand camera or the cheap smartphone that you might have in your back pocket. And the reality is, if you look at it, South Africa is under-documented in terms of the beautiful spaces that are outside of, like 1 hour outside of Cape Town, Joburg, and Durban. It's under-documented, and I've even got into hiking quite a lot recently, and you go and check out the photos of the different hiking routes, and they're really average photos. So the idea with this campaign was to go to these hidden places, create great content, have proper, authentic experiences, whether you're eating mopani worms in Toyando or like literally bungee jumping in the Eastern Cape. Everything was possible and documented through the devices that we had on us. We also created a live blog platform that documented everything throughout the campaign, and we were publishing multiple articles every single day. And that was all supported by the radio. And there's this pivot that's happening with some of these campaigns where the content is born out of the experience, the content is captured digitally, and then amplified by the radio. So why 702 Road Trip work? As a regional radio station, the opportunity to explore every single province was fantastic. I think some of the traditional marketers would have gone, you're 702, you can only focus on Gauteng. But the reality is Gauteng is sort of the economic powerhouse of the country, and people in Gauteng, the province is quite small. So oftentimes we do want to explore a little bit further. And why not do a national campaign with a regional radio station? Because the vast majority of the content is going to be delivered digitally and can reach as far and wide as it needs to. And the opportunity to focus on those hidden gems, like we partnered with a travel agent that we specifically created a list. We said that's too commercial, everyone's been there. And then we asked it to really dig in and try and find some places that no one has ever heard of under that banner of Tourism for All. And also the fact that it was Tourism for All made sure that throughout those weeks and every single week, audiences could connect in a meaningful way to what was being spoken about, rather than only hearing about things that are far out of their reach and they could never ever do. And again, similar to the BMW campaign here, we had content creators that were also influencers. The difference with 702 Road Trip is we actually supercharged the number of content creators and influencers. And whereas BMW, we had 4 in total, here we had, I think, 26 or 36 in total, which meant that there was a diversity in voice, diversity in style, which again reflected the diversity of the country as well. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was being an influencer. So I built a little bit of an Instagram audience of about 10,000 followers, but I've also got a lovely network of other content creators and influencers that have far more followers than I do, spread around the country and the world. And it's really lovely being a bit of a connector to say, okay, cool, we want to do this campaign. I know this person, that person, they'd be really fantastic. Maybe they would work best for this campaign. Not in a formal sense, but just in an ad hoc sense. These are people that I've met over the years and built relationships with. So one thing that we did a think it was about 2 years or a year or two ago, is a friend of ours was coming down from Holland and wanted to do something a little bit different outside of the city. And we thought, oh, here's an opportunity to maybe take a long weekend and go to the Drakensberg. So we reached out to the Montusi Mountain Lodge and we said, would you be willing to do a bit of a trade exchange, content for some accommodation and some experiences just for 3 days? We made sure we did it during the off season to make sure we're not like, being those demanding influencers that you sort of hear on BuzzFeed and stuff. But rather to say, look, there's an equitable trade exchange that can happen here. What are you comfortable doing, and what would the requirements be from our side? So we provided them content in terms of video and photography in exchange for 2 suites over a weekend and some experiences. And I'm just going to show you a quick little video at the end. Again, no sound, but this is the video that came out of it. So sort of insights and advice to sort of people that are looking after lodges in any way, shape or form is finding opportunities to use those empty rooms and maximize them when they're not being used. So if a room is unused for a month, it's not bringing any revenue or in anything of value. Why not find ways to reach out to the right types of influencers? And I use the term micro-influencers here because they're not going to be the most demanding people ever. But reaching out to those people that have, 10,000 followers, that have a good camera, have the ability to cut video, because then at least you're using those rooms to create something valuable out of it. And the lovely thing is when you getting those content creators to create that stuff for you, you can have that negotiation with that person and say, look, I'm going to give you this room for the weekend, but I need to be able to use this content across my website, across social media for the next year, 2 years, 5 years, for lifetime, whatever it might be. And that really ensures that, there's less work. If you're used to running the marketing for a lodge, but you're not a content creator, it saves you the effort of hiring a professional photographer, professional director to film a professional ad that's going to cost an arm and a leg, but offsets it a little bit and makes it a little bit easier for you, and then let them do the thinking. Because the lovely thing, when they do the thinking for you, authenticity comes through. The experience that those people have of your lodge will probably feel more like what your guests would experience, rather than having some flashy professional commercial that might be a little bit too flashy for some of the audiences. But just to show you quickly this video that we created over that weekend. Pretend that there's really wonderful music in the background.
Just share with us again, please, Deen. We can only see your face at this stage.
Okay, just 1 second. Sharing screen now. Okay, there we go. So yeah, so the Montusi Mountain Lodge, nestled in
just give me 2 seconds. There it is. It's up.
Okay, cool. So it was the Montusi Mountain Lodge. It's about 3 and a bit hours outside Joburg. Jumped in one car, the 4 of us. So 1 person from Cape Town, 2 people from Joburg, myself included, and then our 1 friend from the Netherlands. And what was great, I think, we had actually asked the lodge just for 2 rooms for the 2 nights. And the lodge went above and beyond. They said, look, here's some cool hikes that you can do. There's some adventure stuff around the corner. Do you guys want to go do some horseback riding? I'm like, I've never ridden a horse. This is terrifying. And they made the experience really wonderful for us. But the reality is they could afford to do it, because I think this was sort of, maybe July, August, around that time. So it wasn't high season for the Drakensberg at all. So we just got them at the right point in time. I think when we were there were maybe 2 or 3 other sets of guests. So the lodge was wonderfully quiet, which meant it was a little bit easier flying drones around and not disturbing and scaring the neighbors. But these are the types of things that you can consider doing for absolutely no budget for some of your tourist attractions around the country. And like you said, there's that opportunity to put yourself at the center of those conversations when a person is driving between Joburg and Kimberley, for example. What are those things off the beaten track that are really interesting and exciting to experience. If you can capture that really well visually, it makes the world of difference. And yeah, that's it from me. I'm sorry that my sound didn't work for the videos. Just pretend the sound was amazing. But if you have absolutely any questions about some of the campaigns that I've shown you now, or any additional insights, or even if you just want to try and find out some more information about Primedia, please let me know. My email is over there. And if you want to follow me on anything, I spelled my own name wrong. That's great.
Don't stress. Deen, thank you so much. It was really cool. And like I said, the road trip, my best friend went on that road trip. She was part of one of the content creators, and I actually unfollowed her for the entire campaign because I got so jealous of all the cool places you guys went to. So thank you so much. It was really cool, and I totally agree. You can do a whole lot if you just get the right people to come. You don't need to necessarily book a Boiti or whatever as an influencer. There are, and I think we spoke about this in one of our previous episodes where we had Rob Forbes on to talk about influencer marketing and how to just use influencers like himself and like you effectively. And it all comes down to give them the tools to actually just run the campaign. I just want to see, Lee, are you still here? Do you want to quickly pop back up for a quick little chat? Oh, William, thank you for your very nice words. Okay, you can just switch your camera up. There we are. Some girl power. Awesome. So thank you so much, guys. I think just a few questions from my side that can be like conversation starters and for a lot of these people. So I was very fortunate and unfortunate to have a lot of clients within the tourism and travel industry before lockdown. Unfortunately, because of that, I lost a massive chunk of my business. But it's webinar series and things like this that help us put back into the community and help these people to stimulate their sector so they can start growing. When you want to start a campaign, kind of what is the starting point? Do you focus on one element of your lodge, or do you focus on your entire offering? I think that's what working with these type of lodge owners and travel companies, it's something that they struggle a lot with, is where do you begin? Do you begin focusing on one element of your lodge or your offering, or do you look at your company holistically and then look at a campaign from that angle?
I mean, that's such a good question. I think especially for the bigger lodges, and I think the more luxurious lodges that have lots to offer. I think the simplest thing to how to approach it is to approach it from a customer perspective. So if you put yourself in the shoes of a customer, they're not going to do everything at your lodge. They might go through some of those things, and maybe it's about working out, okay, let's say people are going to be there for 3 days. What's a reasonable schedule that we can fit things in to make sure that they get a lovely experience, but are not like just doing things all day, because then you're going on a holiday and it feels like you're working the whole time and you need some downtime. Mm-hmm. And what you can do when you have different offerings, you can create different narratives for different clients. So you can go, here's the budget option, create lovely pieces of content around that. You don't have to call it a budget option. You just present it like, here's journey 1, and here's journey 2, and here's journey 3. I think that's a really nice way to do it, because then instead of thinking it from a business perspective, you're thinking from a customer perspective. And oftentimes that type of thinking lands much better with audiences.
I definitely agree. And I think also it's important to remember that not everyone has the same needs and wants on a trip as well. I mean, I as a single woman might want to go with my girlfriends and, have bubbly and wallow by the pool, whereas, a mum of 4 would have an entirely different agenda. So even if you don't necessarily have social media data and the kind of data that I showed you in my presentation, you have customer data. So I think you can leverage the information that you have at hand about what has been popular in the past, what are the kinds of people that we're engaging in that kind of those kind of things, and just get to know exactly who you're marketing to. And I think you can start grouping experiences quite nicely as well for different needs, for different types of people who might go to your venue.
Absolutely, yeah. I think if you approach it from that human element, you'll win from the start. You'll know what to say in terms of what you're selling. Then just a lot of beautiful content that we saw that was created on all of the platforms. And one of my favorite things is how real life turns into digital through amazing executions and platforms and the different things you can do. Likely, I started in digital marketing when everybody still had a Facebook group. And Instagram was but a wild and wonderful dream. We didn't have cool stuff like carousels and boomerangs and filters and lenses. We didn't have any of that. We were relying on a pretty picture and some words, and that was it. But the amount of things that you can do, taking real life into digital, and it's exactly that case study you showed us with the zoo, where you digitize an experience. This little GoPro was the best purchase that my business has made ever. And you don't have to go for the 20,000 Rand fines. But once you have one of these, you can have your game range, just strap it to their chest and go on a walk and take people into that walk. You can pop it on your helmet and go white river rafting. If you have a facility that has that, actually physically taking people through it, but in a visual way. And that's where you have cool platforms, and that's where you can partner with other media like radio and like paid advertising to just amplify that content. But Lee, I think some of the cool things that you guys are doing now is full immersive kind of experiences where you bring that real life feel to a digital platform.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of my favorite things from having watched the social media trends throughout all of this has been there seems to have been, this is going to be a bit of an eye roll statement, I apologize, but there seems to have been a slight return to authenticity a little bit, because we have had to use what we've had on hand. So I think, we started relying so much on flashy executions, and we stopped connecting on a one-on-one basis. And that was kind of the charm of social media when it all started, right? And there was now all of a sudden this far more human element where you had like the CEO's cat walk over their laptop in the middle of a really important meeting, and it just humanized people and made them so much more accessible and approachable through all of this, which I think was so brilliant. And I think that brands should really try and incorporate that more, because it just seems so much more honest. I mean, that's, people may argue with my opinion on that, but I've loved seeing that side of things.
Yeah, I think it was 2 or 3 webinars back that I did with John and them for Tshwane, and I had my 3-year-old on my lap crying for half of it, but I presented my webinar, and it just brings everybody back to we're actually all just humans sitting in the same boat. So I don't know if you guys have anything you want to add on each other's presentations. Both were really great and very informative. There's some really great feedback in the comment section. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in that. Kind of a wrap-up for you, Deen?
Yeah, I think, there's also that fine balance, like just because you can do it cheaply doesn't mean you should do it cheaply, because sometimes that can do you a disservice as well. But I think the best thing to do is reach out to people that have been doing it and have been doing it well. I know a lot of people are always happy to offer advice, and I think from a content creator and an influencer perspective, this may sound a bit cheeky, but they've also been struggling. So now's the time to maximize their willingness to do work with you. So I've got a friend that's based in Durban that's actually flying up to Joburg to do some shoots of billboards here in Joburg. I'm like, that's a weird gig, but he needs to do it right now. So I think find those opportunities. And you made the point earlier as well, like those super celebrities, you're going to waste your money and waste your time because they're celebrities, they're not content creators. Absolutely. You need content creators that can help you build out your content library. And content is absolutely king. And still those Facebook groups and all of those kinds of stuff are fantastic. And one thing, I think you mentioned it earlier, is that sort of network effects that happens in these communities. I remember we had finished for the 702 road trip. It was our last day in Limpopo, and we were at one lodge, and they had a locally brewed craft beer on offer that evening. So like, yeah, cool, let's have that. And then we like, where's this beer from? What's the story? It's like, no, the brewery is like around, like over there. It's like 20 minutes drive. So the next day we jumped in a car and we found our way through the forests and jungles and all of that stuff, and literally like off road for like a half an hour. Ended up at this tiny little farm, or biggish farm, tiny little microbrewery on it. and had this wonderful experience. The guy that owns it there used to be like the premier or something like that of the province. And like, it was a completely unexpected journey, but like, it wouldn't have started if there wasn't that sense of community there. Someone told us that this brewery is around the corner and you should go check it out. So that network effect in your own communities is it's priceless.
Absolutely. And it's the people who live there that know the other people that live there. You wouldn't, driving into a town like Hoedspruit, know that there's a French lodge that also bakes the best croissants in a 50k radius. It's only the locals that know about I think it was La Baguette is the place. But you need to tap into your locals and tap into your community and tell the stories of your community and share the secrets. Because it benefits everybody if everybody knows about the cool places. So run a joint campaign with your community and with people in your area. Cool. Lee, any wrap-up words from your side?
No, I think we've covered quite a lot of information today. It's been extremely fun, and I thank everyone for being so engaging in the comments. It always really helps, and for handling our slight technical issues with such grace. I did feel affirmed that it wasn't just me. Sorry, team. Thank you. It's been lovely.
Awesome. So I think the kind of wrap-up thought from me is I've shown you today both a content creator and a platform execution. It's when the two of these come together that you make really beautiful campaigns. Is you send out content creators with the tools to create beautiful things, and tools not only in cameras but in executions. Learn what the different platforms can do. Look at what you can't just tweet and you can't just upload a picture. These platforms offer in-depth and beautiful execution tools for you. So it's definitely worth looking at and doing more research, or just reaching out to them and they will tell you all about it. So thank you to both of you. I'll put your details and your slides and everything will be available for anybody, and more than welcome to reach out to them. But thank you again so much for joining us today. It was really great.
It's been awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool. So then John has disappeared. He's still in the background, still running the show, but he's asked me to just do the quick wrap up on his behalf for today. So from everybody at the other side, I can't believe it's episode 5. It's been such an amazing ride. I feel extremely honored to be part of this, and for helping out the businesses and seeing the difference we're making in the industry and in the sector. It's all because of people like you. And John, just from my side, I know I speak on behalf of the community. Thank you so much for all the hard work you're putting into this. It's truly, truly appreciated. So as if John could not get any cooler, he has also started a second web series. It's called Reboot Your Biz, a knowledge series for entrepreneurs and SMEs. So they are starting with episode 1 this Wednesday, the 16th. Is it the 16th? Oh, where did September go? It's the 16th of September at 10. And their first speaker is Sarah Borling. She's a professional speaking coach. So all of the details, you can see the links. John will also share the links on the Facebook group. If you're not part of the Facebook group, please go and join it. We'll also put up all the information of the speakers. I know Lee has made her slides available if anybody wants to see them again. And as always, the episode will be on Crowdcast for you to look at afterwards and rewatch as many times as you want. And if you haven't seen any of the other now I'm reading comments. If you haven't seen any of the other episodes, please go back. All the links are available. If you are unsure where to find them, please just ask on the group and we will gladly share them with you. We've covered everything from content to influencers. We've had some epic speakers. We've had Jan Hutton all the way from, John, help me, New Zealand. Yes, New Zealand. Through, like I mentioned, we had Rob Forbes speak. We had William share some cool stuff. I was on a few times. It has been an absolute joy. So thank you so much. Register on the screen for the brand new series, Reboot Your Biz. I am definitely tuning in for that as a small business owner and entrepreneur. And then we'll see you on the next one. So, Oh, Jan will be back for the final episode. I just heard. So the final episode is episode 6. Jan will be joining us again. Really, really cool. I loved seeing her speak. And then it's the finale. It's the final episode. Oh, she's from Australia. That other one, the one next to it. Yes. Sorry, Jan. Yes. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm babbling now. And we hope to see you on the next one. So from everybody at the other side, peace, love, and tweets.